Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Village of Bartlett Board meeting for June 3rd. I've asked the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Betterman?
Here.
Daney?
Here.
Gansey? Here. Hopkins?
Here. Here.
Here. President Gunstein?
Here. Tonight we've asked Father Chris Chomek of St. Peter Damian Catholic Church to do our invocation. Please rise.
Boy. Dear God, as you gather us this evening, we are grateful for all that is good in our lives. All the blessings help us always to recognize them and appreciate them. As you gather us this evening, dear God, we pray may your blessing be upon each and every one of us. Bless our conversation. Come, Holy Spirit. Bless us with wisdom. Bless us with understanding, with knowledge. Guide us, guide our conversations. May it please you. As before and so also now, we pray, dear God, that you will watch over everyone who lives in Bartlett, keep everyone safe, especially the first responders. And together let us pray with the prayer Jesus Christ himself gave us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done,
on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, in efforts to recognize some of the people under the President's report, we are going to move the President's report up ahead of Town Hall just because of the amount of people that want to speak today. So our wrestlers could go back to practicing and strength training. So with that, I want to welcome State Senator Seth Lewis, who will be reading the first proclamations tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President, trustees of the Village Board, to the crowd here, and the staff. It's an honor to be back here in Bartlett, representing all of you in Springfield. We just got off a very busy spring session, but I'm not here to talk about the budget. I'm not here to talk about the state. I'm here to recognize 4 young men who have accomplished something in life that many of us are able to do. And they should be proud of it. I don't know how many in this room, take a show of hands. Have you ever been a state champion? Raise your hand. Have you two guys, who's been a state champion? There's only 3 of us in the room. Let's see here. I got my brought my medal to prove it, just in case you want to challenge me on it. But it's something that you don't get in life without hard work, without dedication, without commitment, without talent, without the support of your family and friends. And as we get to do so many things as elected officials that are difficult in life, recognizing those in our community who have put forth the sacrifice and accomplished something that very few are able to do is one of the fun things. So with that, we have 4 young men from Bartlett, or in the Bartlett area. So we'll do our state runner-ups first. So Mikey Melizio, who attends Montini Catholic High School, he was runner-up in the 120th pound division of the 2A state wrestling tournament. Mikey? Bartlett resident Santino Tenuta of Montini Catholic High School. was runner-up in the 165-pound division of the state wrestling championships here in Illinois. Congratulations, Santino. Bartlett resident Nicholas Garcia of Marmion Academy was and is the current reigning state champion in the 126-pound division of the Class 3A IHA State Wrestling Champion. And finally, Bartlett resident Cam Loof is the reigning state champion in the 138-pound division of the Class 2A State Wrestling Champions. Congratulations, Cam. Congratulations to our state champions once again, and I'll turn it back to you, Village President.
Thank you, Senator Lewis. This is one of those really nice proclamations to read because it's not too often we read a proclamation for somebody's extreme physical hard work at such a young age. So it's an honor to be here tonight and to read these proclamations. So I'd like to bring all four of the recipients up here: Nicholas Garcia, Mickey Meluzio, Santino Tenuta, and Cam Loof. You can come up here. I'll start with Nicholas Garcia. The Village of Bartlett Proclamation recognizing state wrestling champion Nicholas Garcia. Whereas wrestling mindset's oldest and most basic form of recreational combat traces its origination back to the dawn of civilization through carving and drawing estimations between 15,000 and 20,000 years old, found in caves in southern Europe. And whereas wrestling was the most popular event in the ancient Greek games, and lists of Olympic wrestling winners have been recorded since 708 BC. And whereas modern wrestling is a highly intensive sport that requires strength, alertness, resiliency, and all agility and quickness. And whereas Marmion Academy Junior Nicholas Garcia has not been the winner's circle for some time, but rather he has exhibited 3 years of dominance within the state of Illinois wrestling circle. And whereas his freshman year, he placed 4th in the IHSA State Championship and 1st in the Illinois Wrestling Freestyle Championship. Then Nicholas strived to greatness again, defeating the #1 ranked wrestler in the United States in that division last year. Wow. And finally, this spring, Nicholas defeated the #1 ranked state of Illinois by winning the IHSA Division 3A State Championship. Now, therefore, I, Dan Gunstein, President of the Village of Bartlett, Cook, DuPage, and Kane, I do hereby give high fives to this young wrestler and proudly read this proclamation Tuesday, June 3rd, as Nicholas Garcia Day in the Village of Bartlett. Village of Bartlett Proclamation recognizing Mickey Malzuno, Santino Tenuta, and Cam Loof for outstanding achievement in the 2025 IHSA Class A State Wrestling Championship. Whereas the Village of Bartlett proudly recognizes the exceptional accomplishments of local student athletes who demonstrate dedication, discipline, and excellence. And whereas 3 Bartlett residents, Mickey Malzuno, Santino Tenuta, and Cam Loof, represented Montini Catholic School with distinction at the 2025 IHSA State Champion Wrestling Championship. And whereas Mickey displayed extraordinary grit and determination in the 110-pound weight class, earning the title of state runner-up. And whereas Santino Tenuta exhibited great strength for his perseverance in the 165-pound weight class, also finishing as state runner-up. And whereas Cam Loof showcased elite talent and competitive excellence in the 138-pound weight class, ultimately becoming the IHSA Class A state champion. And whereas the achievement of these outstanding wrestlers are a reflection of their hard work, their family support, their coaches, the coaches' guidance, and the values of Bartlett community. And whereas their accomplishments serve as a proud inspiration to all the young athletes before and behind them, and the residents throughout the village of Bartlett. Now, therefore, I, Dan Gunstein, the Village of Bartlett President of Kane, Cook, DuPage counties, do by here give high fives to these young wrestlers and proudly proclaim June 4th as Mickey Malzuno, Santino Tenuta, and Cam Loof Day in the Village of Bartlett. I invite the board down for a picture. Just want to add one last thing. I know the Loof family very well, and they are very dedicated to their family's work. I fully expect to see the young Loof up here in a couple of years. Congratulations again, guys. All right, we have one more proclamation tonight, which I have asked Trustee Daney to read.
Good evening, everyone. This is a proclamation recognizing Administrative Cashier Diane Czerwinski on her retirement from the Village of Bartlett. Whereas Diane Czerwinski was hired as a part-time records technician at the Village of Bartlett Clerk's Office 25 years ago, was quickly promoted on administrative cashier. Then in 2016 was promoted administrative cashier 2. And whereas for vital customer service role in the main office, Diane was oftentimes the first face the residents saw when came into the village hall, or the first voice of business owner or other stakeholder heard when they called. And whereas during her tenure, Diane has adeptly answered inquiries about municipal services and procedures, quickly processed applications for businesses and contractors' license, handled payments for cemetery permits and deeds, and made early for vehicle stickers. Acted as a notary public when needed, always maintained active records for all these transactions, and regularly executed these duties and more with professionalism, patience, and good humor. And whereas our municipal environment grew and changed, Diana helped cross-train newer co-workers, sharing her extensive knowledge and skills. And whereas the village of proud to have advocate you as an employee in the village department. We wish you a very happy retirement, free of worries about bringing phones and resident questions, filled instead with many years of patient fun, good health, and much happiness.
Oh, we're all coming.
There should be like a wing wall, you know?
Yeah.
Like at 120, like an Instagram wall.
That's right. We should have like a.
Do like or a green screen? Yeah.
Aww.
Okay, that's going to take us to our town hall portion of tonight. And I would like to let everybody know, if you plan on speaking, please fill out a form and present it to the board so we can call your name. We're going to work to get through as many people as possible tonight. This is a very packed house, so I ask that you try to keep redundancies to a minimum and try to keep it in a 3-minute window. So with that, we will open up town hall, and our first person.
Prospect Devon or Kansas?
This, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So,
What is prospect?
Suzanne Duffy?
I am here to discuss the fact, I don't know at the last meeting if we brought to the attention of a petition that was signed by 90% of the property owners.
Not on? Oh, there you go. I would like to reiterate the fact that last week or the week before, I think it was before the last meeting, that we submitted a petition that was signed by everyone but one property owner that backs up to this property at Devon and Prospect. And everyone voiced concerns about what the intentions were with the property. I believe there's a provision within the governance or whatever that if 90% of the people sign that it should not be approved. My concerns are right now that you have 2 phases. The first phase, you have a company that has plans that have been submitted, and I have a couple of concerns with that, but my biggest concern is the phase 2. Because there are suggestions of what that could be, but there's no one that's waiting in line to sign up for this property. I don't think that the idea of a restaurant or a drive-through restaurant, anything that's serving alcohol, complements a daycare situation or a neighborhood situation. And my other concern is the landscaping. It doesn't seem to be complete enough. We need evergreens. We need something that would provide lots of privacy, and anything that's got deciduous trees, bushes, that's not going to do anything. And so those are my concerns.
Thank you. Rebecca Hunt.
So I am also speaking about the Prospect and Devon project. I want to compare this project to the McDonald's and KinderCare in Brewster Creek off of 59, just as a comparison. In that particular development, it's similar because there is also a drive-through with a daycare. In that situation, the buildings are arranged so that neither the KinderCare nor the McDonald's face the homes. In the case of Prospect and Devon, the quick-serve restaurant and the additional store and restaurant would be arranged so that our homes would look out over customers coming and going from those buildings, which violates our privacy. In the case in Brewster Creek, the KinderCare serves as a buffer between the homes and the drive-through, but in our case, a parking lot serves as a buffer. That will result in noise pollution. In Brewster Creek, there's a service road that runs between the KinderCare and the residences, and the main entrances into the parking lots are from major roadways. In our case, the main entrance would run behind our homes from a minor collector street, which is a safety issue. The traffic study projects that 70% of patrons will likely use that entrance off of Prospect behind our homes. And I would like to project numbers, but it was a little bit unclear what they were projecting as far as daily traffic. It could have ranged anywhere from 100 cars to 1,000 cars because I wasn't able to clearly understand the traffic study. So I have 4 remaining questions. I'm unclear as to why the main entrance cannot be off of Devon, why it must be off of Prospect in the location behind our homes. I'm wondering if the buildings can be arranged differently to provide better privacy to residences so that we're not watching people coming and going from these businesses. I'm also wondering, would the developer be willing, again, to use landscaping in excess of the 75% required minimum with trees greater than 4 feet tall to provide privacy? The berm has been removed from this project, which means there's a height of 3 feet that's been removed from the privacy of that landscaping. The berm is supposed to be a requirement, and so without that, tall, full trees are necessary to provide the privacy to the homes that border this property. And then about that berm, there was no explanation given for why the berm was removed. So I'm wondering, is there a flood threat to the existing homes? The zoning allowed for breaks in the berm to permit for flood issues. So I'm wondering why that berm was removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather Matthews.
Good evening. My name is Heather Matthews. I live at 409 Hillendale Drive in Bartlett. So I live third house south of Devon, backing up to these houses, or backing up to the proposed Devon and Prospect development. And I want to note that we do not have anywhere else in the entire town where a fast food restaurant butts right up to a residential neighborhood. So, and we don't have that for a reason, because best practices in community planning call for buffer areas between that. And so we would be moving away from best practices in community planning here. Meanwhile, this is a neighborhood with an exceptional number of children. We have over 50 children in this 2-block subdivision. We are the reason Centennial Elementary now has to do residency audits every single year because we have that many new children continuing to move into the neighborhood. So we already have over 50 and we have more moving in. And so with that many kids running around, unfortunately, the way this proposal is built, the people will have to go around the block in order to go west because they will, and they'll end up going through our subdivision. Just like most people at McDonald's who are looking to go east end up going around the block and they're going to the Park District or things like that. And in our neighborhood, that's very dangerous because our kids are running right across the street back and forth already, and our street is much more narrow than you'll find by McDonald's. On top of that, I want to note that we need additional planning for the Devon Avenue corridor. As I've mentioned before, we need updated bicycle studies. We need updated traffic studies, especially because of all of the development near Cherry on Top, One Taco Dos Tequilas, Aldi. The traffic is substantially different than the traffic study that was done back in 2019 or so, because you guys have done a great job, and this is as a result of that. I also want to note that, where was I? We need a ordinance on commercial garbage pickup. We heard that the people who live by McDonald's and the daycare are hearing the garbage trucks come at 4 or 5 in the morning, and they're hearing the backup beeps and the banging, and we have ordinances on residential garbage pickup, but nothing on commercial. And they can't keep their windows open anymore, and we don't want that happening to us. We also have heard from the people by McDonald's that they have extensive garbage in and around their yards constantly, and our kids will be dealing with that. So ultimately, we really want a solution that will work well with the neighbors. We're not saying we're opposed to everything. We're not. But I want to note this developer has not reached out to the residents whatsoever, not made any attempt to engage us, nor has the village staff made any attempt to reach out directly to us and ask what would be a good fit there. And they could do a community meeting, a community planning meeting of that sort. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Alex Matthews? Addie, I'm sorry.
My name is Addie Matthews. Oh, really? I am 11, and I'm going into 6th grade. I live at 409 Hillendale Drive, and I'm asking the village to not build the stuff on the field because this is important to me, because me and like 31 other kids that I could count play in that field, and this would affect the people this would affect would include like my whole neighborhood, like 3 blocks full, maybe 4. The new buildings and traffic would make my neighborhood and the places I live and play more crowded, more noisy, less clean, and less open for us to play. And the traffic would, like my mom said, like it would be running, like we would be running across the street, and like plus there's already cars that are like zooming down that street already. So that's it.
Thank you.
James Pantos?
James Pantos, 1065 Auburn Lane. Let's discuss fiduciary responsibility today. I'm worried that there are members of the board that are about to vote to allow a cannabis dispensary and future bakery to reside so close to a daycare facility with 120 children. The police department are on record that they reached out to 13 other municipalities. Only 2 had dispensaries near educational facilities, but they were separated by 1,000 feet. Do you know the physical distance between this daycare and the dispensary? It's not 1,000 feet. It's not 500. It's not 250. It's 104. I measured it. Illinois legalized cannabis on January 1st, 2020. This is not a sufficient amount of time to conduct any long-term, realistic study of the effect of cannabis dispensaries on a community, its constituents, property values, new prospective families wanting a safe environment for their children, and looking at the Village of Bartlett as an option. The petitioner has stated in their own words that 70% is online ordering, serving 35 per hour. State of Illinois allows dispensaries to open 6 a.m., close at 10. That's 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's 4,000 individuals per week. 200,000 per year coming into this location. Illinois law allows 21 years of age, and we are all aware from the last presentation, the average age that people try cannabis is 17. The board cannot be supporting this, cannot. And I would like to ask the village if the village has set aside any money for risk mitigation due to lack of safe harbor buffer zone for the families and children of Bartlett. A lawsuit will be possible due to the lack of reasonable judgment based on legitimate published studies. And it can happen by one of these 200,000 patrons over here. They'll be going to his store that you're inviting into the community, tossing gummies over the fence, literally 1 foot away from the parking area where these patrons will be going into their store. Say bye-bye to our revenue. The board should vote no on this location. What is the additional police training related to this dispensary? Is the village going to ensure drug, alcohol testing for any incident at this location? What additional safe driving precautions are being planned? Is the village planning to provide surveillance during the hours of operation for the kinder care and the other related stores that are family related in this center? A vote of yes for the village offers too much potential risk to everyone who takes their hard-earned money and puts it into the revenue of this village. It's such an easy situation to say no. And we should be keeping our children safe and saying no to this vote at this location. It's not right.
Thank you, Richard.
Jim Harrington?
Didn't hear you. Thank you. Jim Harrington, 757 Braintree Lane. I've got several questions that I hope you people have considered before this vote tonight. Number one, is having a dispensary in Bartlett such a desperate situation that we have to override current zoning even when so many residents are against this dispensary? Number two, are you saying there is no other location in all of Bartlett that would be better suited for a dispensary that is not close to any child care centers and residential homes and still generate enough tax revenue for the village? Next, number three, is Starbucks demanding that this is the only location in Bartlett that they will consider for their business? That's pretty selfish. Number four, are they the only dispensary interested in setting up a business in Bartlett? And number five, if the village put out the word that we are definitely interested in a dispensary, are you to tell me that no other dispensary would have any interest in accepting another location in Bartlett? Trustees, please vote no tonight rezoning this area and let Starbucks find another location in Bartlett or find another dispensary willing to locate somewhere else in Bartlett. I have a win-win-win for everybody tonight. A win for a dispensary, Starbucks, whoever, in a different location in Bartlett. Number two, a win for the Bartlett Lake Estates neighborhood so they do not have a dispensary in their neighborhood strip mall. And three, and the most important one, is for you, the village, as you get your tax revenue from a dispensary located somewhere else in the town of Bartlett. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Richard Lewis?
Good evening, Richard Lewis, 858 Braintree in Bartlett. Not all the residents that are opposed to this, I think, are going to speak tonight within their time. So if I could, everyone opposed to the dispensary that are here tonight, if you would mind standing for just a brief moment to see who is here and that question. Right, thank you. I'm here just to try to address a little bit of the traffic issues. Are you aware that when the new Walgreens building was added, that the increased traffic was one of the primary reasons that it almost did not happen? And you're also aware that there were even more concerns about safety of the mall traffic when Stearns and 59 intersection was reconfigured, preventing left-hand turns out of the mall onto Stearns during business hours. And are you aware that the turning left out of the mall to go south on Route 59 is nearly impossible and extremely dangerous during high traffic hours, leaving the Norwood Braintree roads through the residential area as the primary cut route for those trying to drive east on Stearns? Do you know that the board solution to the cut-through traffic at this time, when the other issues were going, was to put signage up that says local traffic only on both ends of Braintree and Norwood? How many of the law-abiding citizens in this room ignore that sign and drive through the neighborhood to get through McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts? And I probably see some of your faces here, including myself before I lived in the neighborhood. Putting up signs do not prevent people from doing things. With that said, do you realize that the dispensary has indicated that nearly 400 to 500 cars would be added to an already overly congested traffic area daily? The dispensary has indicated that 50% or more of the consumer traffic is from online orders. Is this particular location really the most convenient for online pickup orders when traffic is already an issue? And finally, do you realize that the ordinance in the package that you are going to be asked to sign and approve for this dispensary specifically states, quote, the proposed traffic generated by the facility will not have a negative impact on the adjacent roadway capacity, when we know it certainly will not have a neutral or a positive impact on the roadway capacity? Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra Lombardi.
At the end of the village meeting on May 20th, when the officer spoke and said that he didn't find any dispensaries that had any issues, I remember reading in the Daily Herald about an incident in Villa Park. On Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, at 4 a.m., a man was seen on a surveillance video breaking a window and throwing a Molotov cocktail into a Villa Park cannabis dispensary. The police and fire department responded and snowed back inside. The flame went out quickly. The occurrence is still under investigation due to two similar attacks in Chicago, one on April 19th at 3:13 a.m. on Milwaukee Avenue, and the other one was on April 27th at 3:49 a.m. on Damon Avenue. That being said, next door to the proposed dispensary is the paint store Sherwin-Williams, which carries several flammable items, including oil-based paints and paint thinners. When ignited, this can easily travel rapidly with risk of explosion. This could affect the surrounding businesses, including KinderCare and residents. I'm asking you, President Sunstein and trustees, to consider other locations other than Brewster Creek Shopping Center. Stearns and 59 is a congested intersection. Last year, there were 41 accidents. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Schmidt.
Hi, good evening. Linda Schmidt, 741 Duxbury Lane. Good evening, trustees and President Sunstein. Today we look at direct facts, the resident shopping center zone B3, Brewster Creek, where family-oriented businesses have demonstrated success with the neighbor community. The successful KinderCare has provided infants through childhood development and educational growth, and parents have felt safe when leaving their children at KinderCare. We can't predict what influence a cannabis dispensary will have on our children or the daycares, but we know there's unpredictable. Less than 250 feet from kinder care is unacceptable, and if something drops or is placed in a child's reach, that's unacceptable. Just because someone comes to Bartlett and wants to directly affect and influence our community, I say no go. Bartlett trustees, we need you to uphold the zoning ordinances that protect our schools, daycares, and playgrounds, buffering these sensitive use areas from adult use cannabis dispensaries. We were all once the children I'm referring to, and as parents, we are the protectors, the leaders of our children. We elected you to the board, so have our best interest for the Bartlett Estates B3 zone, the residential shopping center, and initiate proper zoning ordinances to protect children. The Bartlett DARE program for over 30 years has promoted Say No to Drugs. Let's cultivate the DARE program. Say no to drugs. Say no to the dispensary, in which 2 daycares surround the location. Bartlett does not have to change its lifestyle or values at this location. We just don't earn to be the 9th safest city. We demonstrated safety through smart, educated decisions. It just doesn't belong. We, the people, the community, belong in Bartlett, not the dispensary near 2 daycares. Bartlett is known for its small-town atmosphere, well-planned neighborhoods, and a family-friendly community. The Planning and Zoning Board voted 5-3 for no dispensary and recommended another location. Support their decision. There is no option here. Oppose the dispensary and bakery locations. It is unsuitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Danielle Burton?
Danielle
Burton?
Good evening. My name is Danielle Burton. I live at 1028 Norwood Lane, Bartlett. Tonight I rise not just as a concerned resident, but as a parent and someone trying to understand the purpose of this public process. If a certified letter was sent to notify residents about a proposed cannabis dispensary being located less than 250 feet away from a daycare, if those Bartlett Estate residents responded with overwhelming opposition, and if your own Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-3 against this special use permit, then what's the point of having this kind of process where residents can voice themselves and petition and ask for support and upholding those ordinances that we believed would protect us from businesses such as a cannabis dispensary being located next to a daycare center? So now I have 4 questions that I hope you will consider before you make your vote. How can this cannabis dispensary be considered necessary or in the public interest when it's directly adjacent to a daycare opposed by hundreds of families in the neighborhood? Number 2, what objective evidence exists that placing an adult-use cannabis facility this close to kindercare is not detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of children and child care workers? Number 3, if this use truly meets the ordinance standards, then why did your own Planning and Zoning Commission vote against it? And what precedent are you setting if you override them? Finally, if community input is easily dismissed and sensitive use protections so easily waived, how can families in Bartlett trust you in any processes going forward? You may have made up your mind, but I urge you to consider the long-term cost of putting business interest over community well-being, especially when the community includes our youngest and most vulnerable residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle.
Garrett Burton?
Hello, my name is Garrett Burton, and I'm a proud graduate of Bartlett High School, class of 2024. I'm here today not just as a former student, but as someone who has seen firsthand how cannabis is already affecting our community, especially amongst young people. At BHS, I didn't need a statistic to tell me that there was a cannabis problem. I've seen classmates show up to school high. I've seen friends lose motivation, stop showing up, or spiral because they thought that weed was harmless, when in reality, it was their first step into something bigger and darker. So when I heard that the village of Bartlett was considering allowing a dispensary to be built near KinderCare, it was mind-boggling news. Why would adults place a cannabis store within walking distance of a place that cares for toddlers and preschoolers? Let's be honest, dispensaries aren't shady back alley businesses. They look professional and they're legal, but just because something is legal doesn't mean it belongs near kids. We draw boundaries for a reason. We don't put bars or smoke shops next to playgrounds. Adult use dispensaries should be no different. When we blur those lines, we normalize cannabis for kids before they're old enough to understand the risks. We make it seem like weed is no big deal, like it's just a part of everyday life. And when you grow up seeing that, it shapes your mindset. The truth is, if we prioritize business over safety, we're just telling the next generation that we've given up on protecting them. I read a Daily Herald article from 2019. Trustees at the time, some of whom sit before us today, gave a few statements about constructing a cannabis dispensary in the village. Mayor Gunstein, a trustee at the time, agreed with the dispensary being built in the industrial area because, quote, this keeps it away from schools and parks. I want to know what changed your mind. In the same article, Stephanie Gansey stated, I would not change anything. What changed? Former Mayor Kevin Wallace, who retired May 1st, 2025, said, I can't fathom any business along Route 59 or downtown especially that would want to smell that odor. What changed? Furthermore, Trustee Raymond Dane stated, isolating it to the business parks makes more sense. What changed? The responsibility of protecting children, not just from physical harm, but from early exposure to adult substances and decisions they're not ready to make for themselves, falls on the adults in the village. Bartlett is a family community. We pride ourselves on safety, strong schools, and supporting young people. This decision goes against all of that. We can do better. We should do better. Thank you.
Jay Langfelder.
Good evening. Jay Langfelder, 415 South Hickory, Bartlett, Illinois. Good evening, Village President Gunstein and Village Trustees. I'm here tonight to object to the location of the proposed site of Starbuds Dispensary. Based on the increased traffic of 35 vehicles an hour and the location and the time of business of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., it is average 490 vehicles a day. And the number of vehicles would increase based on the online sales, which was brought up at the last meeting, Village President Dan Gunstein brought up. Norwood and Braintree traffic is only 2 lanes, and with the high traffic flow as a result from the existing businesses of McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts off Norwood would increase dramatically. There are other locations in Bartlett which would fit this proposed dispensary. For example, the CVS building on Army Trail and 59, which is abandoned, or Stearns Crossing on Stearns Road. As current board, Joe Lepore, Stephanie Gansey, Ray Daney, Village President Dan Gunstein, Renee Czerwinski, Adam Hopkins, and newly elected John Batterman, you have a tough decision with Bartlett. You represent Bartlett. You represent their voice. And looking at the results of it tonight, we have concerned citizens. You have tough decisions to make from Lake Street all the way from County Farm Road as far south as Army Trail Road and Route 25. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Carol Harrington.
I'm Carol Harrington, 757 Braintree Lane. Are you aware that Brewster Creek is zoned as a neighborhood shopping center, specifically centered for pedestrian traffic, families walking, preteens, and teenagers riding their bikes and scooters to this area? Right now, we have 3 adult-only venues there. We have a vape store, we have a liquor store, and we have a gambling venue. Now we're talking about adding 2 more adult-only venues, namely a cannabis dispensary and, in time, a hemp bakery. And all of this right smack in the middle of not 1, but 2 daycare centers. How does this fit into a definition of a neighborhood shopping center? Is this the kind of impression that we want people to form of Bartlett, of this Bartlett community, as they drive down 59, that we cater to adults only? Do we really want to change this shopping center into an adult-only center? Elgin and Streamwood and other neighboring villages have dispensaries in standalone locations. They are not near child care centers, and they're not directly adjacent to a residential neighborhood. Won't it reflect badly on Bartlett if we put a dispensary that could be less than 1,000 feet, and we heard much less than 1,000 feet, from 2 daycare centers, and that we would be accepting cannabis deliveries just over the fence from residential homes? This dispensary has agreed to post an 8.5 by 11-inch sign, the size of a standard piece of paper, stating that the consumption of cannabis is prohibited on their grounds. Do you really believe that this sign will prevent people from consuming any cannabis products, such as gummies, in the parking lot once they leave that building? Do we really want to take this chance so close to 2 daycare centers, knowing the possibility of the dangers that could arise? Please think good and hard about the many questions and concerns brought up by so many residents of Bartlett over this past several weeks. The residents that elected you to represent us. We are asking you to represent us and vote no on this proposal. Thank you.
And Mariotti?
Good evening. My name is Raynell Mariotti. I live at 748 Duxbury Lane. I'm a 43-year-old resident of Bartlett and very proud to live here. I did not plan to speak tonight. But what I do want to say is that I'm a grandfather of 14 grandchildren who visit our neighborhood on a regular basis. I care about families, and I believe you do too. Family is very important. I'm just asking you, please, 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 don't put profit in front of people. As a respectful resident, I'm calling out to each of you to really think this through. Cannabis is harmful, it's addictive, no matter what anyone says. It brings wrong people to the neighborhood. We could have pedophiles being brought to our own neighborhood. I'm not as worried about the cannabis being thrown across the parking lot, which is a reality, but then who are we bringing to our neighborhoods? Who are we bringing to our children, our grandchildren? So please, please, think this through. Put people first. Thank you.
Donna Clark?
My name is Donna Clark. I live at 270 South Oak. I'm here to speak generally in favor of the cannabis dispensary. I I know you had heard a lot of concerns, and I think, the board will make whatever decision they decide and try to mitigate any problems. But I just want to say that with Senator Lewis here, we are going to be running up against some budget concerns for our state and for our town, and this is could be a valuable thing for our community, and I think any issues, I would just trust the board to mitigate those concerns, but I do think that we do need to be mindful of the tax income that it would bring in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie Fortino.
Hello, my name is Jamie Fortino. I just graduated from NIU on the 10th of May, and I will be turning 23 on this Friday. And the reason why I'm saying this is because that makes me the target demographic for this cannabis dispensary. And as the target demographic, I have to say that I've never been more disappointed and disgusted that this is even being considered. I've lived at 837 Braintree Lane for almost 23 years, for my entire life. And I have witnessed as things like the vape store get put in just down the street, just across a few streets, just down the sidewalk. I used to walk those sidewalks. And now every single time I do, I see cartridges from vapes. I see fireball shooters on my yard. I can't mow the lawn without running over one of those. And yet now here we are wishing to introduce baggies of weed, plastic bags of marijuana that can just be easily tossed over a fence because it's only 100 feet away from a child care facility. In the county of DuPage, there is an ordinance, a rule that there should not be allowed to be a cannabis dispensary within 1,500 feet of any place that houses or cares for vulnerable citizens, including daycares, primary schools, secondary schools. And I understand that Bartlett is home rule. I understand that DuPage County rules do not necessarily apply. But I think it says something about this council here today and about the people who are trying to build this dispensary in this location that they wish to put one not even a fifth of the distance from what our county ordains. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Teleski.
Hello. My name is Amy Toloski. Some people might know me as the Duck Lady. I grew up in Bartlett. I've been a homeowner in this community since June 2010. I was honored to receive the Citizen Star Award in August for my work picking up litter around town and distributing Narcan while educating others about its life-saving potential. I love my town and I care about the people in it. Bartlett isn't just where I live, it's my home. I'm your neighbor, I'm your coworker, I'm your family member, I'm your friend. I'm also in recovery. As of today, I've been sober from drugs and alcohol for 7 years, 6 months, and 10 days. I'm also a registered medical cannabis patient. When alcohol destroyed my life, cannabis helped me put the pieces back together. Cannabis is not a gateway drug. It has helped me replace pharmaceuticals I didn't want to rely on, treating anxiety, depression, migraines. It's not all about potheads and parties. For many of us, it's a way out. There are countless ways to use cannabis responsibly, therapeutically, and intentionally. I've learned so much being a part of a green recovery group for the last 4 years, and cannabis has become a vital part of how I stay clean and balanced. So why am I here today? Because Bartlett needs a dispensary. As a medical patient, I have to travel to other towns to get my medicine when I would much rather support our economy. Some people are concerned about traffic, but let's be honest. Traffic is everywhere, and that traffic, it means customers, local spending in other businesses, and revenue. It means economic growth in Bartlett. Let's take a look at where we stand right now that no one has mentioned. Bartlett has 55 liquor licenses, 21 gambling licenses, and not a single dispensary. Before anyone says a dispensary would be dangerous or inappropriate for the area, let me paint a clearer picture. People are going to complain about any location you choose. The location being discussed has a McDonald's, a pharmacy, a liquor store, a gambling parlor that serves alcohol, and a vape shop that sells Delta 8, which is a synthetic and unregulated form of THC. So let's be honest, it's not the dispensary that's the problem. It's the stigma. We need to end the stigma. But here's the truth. Alcohol is poison. It is a substance where withdrawal from it can kill you, and yet somehow cannabis is what you're afraid of. Let me make this clear. You cannot consume cannabis in public in Illinois. You cannot legally use it at or near a dispensary in Illinois. Dispensaries are professional, secure, and highly regulated. People come in, make their purchases, and leave. Frankly, the atmosphere inside most dispensaries is calm, clean, and full of really happy people who love their jobs and love helping people find the right medicine for them. Meanwhile, in grocery stores, you have to walk past flashy advertisements and alcohol displays just to get to the milk, often with free samples being handed out along the way. Our society has normalized alcohol to the point where its dangers are overlooked entirely. Why aren't you worried about your kids seeing that? It's 2025. Cannabis is medicine. Sober and healthy is cool. Teach your children that. Let me leave you with this. I don't visit your liquor stores, and you don't have to visit my dispensary. I can walk past without partaking. You, Bartlett deserves access, progress, and a dispensary. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Amy. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak that hasn't filled out a petition form?
Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Warden, 431 South Main Street, Bartlett. I've lived here going on 63 years. This is the third public forum where I've heard different testimonies. This is a very sensitive issue, and besides the issues with having it by 2 daycare centers, I think we need to look at the traffic that's going to be generated going down Braintree. Perhaps if this is approved, we would need a no right turn on Braintree from Norwood from 10 a.m. to, say, 8 p.m. When they started getting more and more traffic years ago, they asked for a sidewalk on each side of the road because the kids could no longer safely ride their bikes or walk in the street. I have gone over there several times at different times of the day and observed a lot more traffic on Braintree than used to be there. And if we have 35 cars an hour without the state putting a stoplight at Norwood and 59, you're going to have a lot more people go down that narrow residential street. And I don't think it's a good idea. I think from hearing all the testimony, this facility has no business whatsoever by 2 daycare centers, and it needs to go west of 59, where we wouldn't have to worry about generating more traffic on a narrow residential street that was never intended to be a main artery to get to Stearns Road. Thank you.
Agni Januskis.
Thank you for allowing extra time to hear us all out. I have used marijuana myself for anxiety, for sleep issues. We're not saying no to dispensary. It is legal in Illinois, yet it is not federally legal. And there is a reason for that. We have to remember that. There's many towns with ordinances in place that say, you know, a specific distance that it has to be from daycares and primary schools and secondary schools. I hope Bartlett comes up with an ordinance that is specific and agrees with common sense and decency. These are not just 2 daycares. These are before and after school care facilities. From one of those daycares for sure, the children walk to the Apple Orchard playground to play. My children are grown up, walking around the pond, riding their bike to the McDonald's, to the Dunkin' Donuts to get ice cream. They're walking there. You know, yes, we see sidewalks polluted with little empty liquor bottles with vaping cartridges. And today I saw a gummy on the sidewalk. Maybe it's candy. Maybe it's something else. Why introduce that to this area where there's so many residents and children walking and spending their time? We just had a fishing derby there. Do we want to introduce that to this area? Yes, there's vaping shop, there's gaming places, there's liquor store there, but nobody asked us how we felt about putting them there. Two wrongs do not make a right. And, start making better decisions. Some of you are new to the board. The residents are saying, look out for our best interest, our family's best interest. Please do so. This neighborhood is also where children have to walk to the bus. My children walk about 10, 15, 20 minutes to the bus without sidewalk to Auburn and Fairview. That's very close to this location. We've reached out to the school district and police about putting in stop signs, additional stop signs, putting in sidewalks, and we always get the same reply. There hasn't been an incident. When there's a lot more traffic now, and why are we waiting for the first incident to happen to do something? So you're not even willing to solve the existing problems. Why introduce new ones? Thank you.
Patrick Rauer.
Sorry, I was coming late. I'm at a baseball practice with my son. I spoke last meeting about the Devon project, the potential development. I still stand by the fact that I'm fine with certain things going in there, but I do ask you as the board to consider the appropriateness of certain facilities being put in a place where there is a small town community feel. But I do want to add, my wife couldn't be here either time, and she wanted me to read this. She was trying to submit it through email, but she couldn't. She said the village has the small town feel that is cherished amongst its citizens. From the survey given, that was one of the key things that people love about our community. It has that small town feel. Using that land as a child care, which I know is one of the proposals, I think is a great idea. I think it's a good area for it. It's a family-oriented area, but and my wife agrees. And so that fits our vision, but having a drive-through, having an area that would, or a restaurant or an eatery that would require a liquor license doesn't fit that. It doesn't follow that family-owned business, the retail that we feel would be more appropriate for that area. A drive-through or a fast food place just doesn't fit the aesthetic that gives it that small town feel and doesn't feel like it fits in with the community of families. And we understand clearly the land will be built upon. People got to make money. We want to increase revenue. We want those things. Those are positives for us. But we think it would be a better interest to really ask yourself what kind of business would be appropriate to be placed in that area, and consider that a drive-through right there and a restaurant or an eatery that would require a liquor license might not be the best area. There's plenty of other places for it that are probably more appropriate. So that's all my wife had to say about that. And just wanted to add with the cannabis that I think that is another business that we do need in the area, but maybe not next to a child care, maybe not in that place. Like, think about long-term planning in the communities that surround us. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak tonight? Please kindly step up to the podium and state your name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, Jim Lee Smith, 741 Duxbury Lane, Bartlett. I'd like to address all you members. As this young gentleman said in the back here, most of you all denounce having a marijuana dispensary in the village for your upcoming elections. I stand by you for that. All of a sudden, I'm hearing through the grapevine, everyone knows what that is, that a lot of you have changed your minds. Don't know why, don't understand it. He also said that you can get drugs, marijuana, and whatnot at the high school. My kids went there 30 years ago. They would come home and tell me, Dad, you wouldn't believe this. They're selling drugs at the high school. Who do I blame? I blame Bartlett Village. I blame Bartlett PD. I blame U46. 30 years ago, and it's still going in, according to this gentleman? That's just unheard of. I mean, unbelievable. Do we really need a dispensary right outside of a major highway and everything? I don't think so. You know, there's an old adage, and a lot of you said in the beginning when you were going to be elected years ago, put it in the industrial park. Well, they say, if you build it, they will come. Build it there then. Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? I believe we have some people online that would like to speak. Dominic?
I don't believe there's anyone. Oh, actually,
No?
we have one. Scott Bracken.
Go ahead, Scott.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, 235 North Plateau in Bartlett. I am for the dispensary. I have I have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old, but it's 2025, and you know, the stigma's got to go, like Amy said, and I think we need the revenue. The first gentleman that talked, 200,000 people to visit there a year. You're getting at least $1, probably more. So that revenue can be pretty good. And like others have said, there's a liquor store, there's gambling, and then Walgreens. Nobody's mentioned that. They just, judgment came down $350 million for filling fraudulent opioid prescriptions. So they're peddling fentanyl and opioids. But I am all for the dispensary. I think we can use the revenue, and thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Dominic, do we have anybody else online that would like to speak?
No, sir.
Good. All right. If there's no more speakers, yes, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Lynette DeBenny. I live at 1815 Rizzi Lane. It's not near the downtown area. It's not near the schools and everything, but I feel that Bartlett is a nice family-oriented area, and where you put things is important. And is it all about the money? Is that your prime? I'm asking the board that. Is that your number one priority, is just bringing in the money and not thinking of all things happen with, you know, too much places where there's too much drinking and too much a dispensary, whatever. The area, there's places for that. Put it in the busy areas of town along 59, but I don't think it's a good place for a neighborhood area. Thank you.
Now, may I get your last name?
What was your last name, please, for the record?
Lynn.
Lynn? What was your last name for the record, please? How do you spell that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. All right. If there's nobody else in the audience, we're going to close the town hall.
Good.
All right.
Good job.
Okay, that takes us to our consent agenda tonight. If any of the board members would like to add or remove anything from the consent agenda, please do so. Items listed with an asterisk are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the board members request to do so. Would anybody like to add or remove anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to add items C1 and C2 to the consent agenda.
Any questions regarding that? Any concerns or questions regarding A1? No. All right. If there's no more adds or deductions? E1. Any questions or concerns regarding that? All right. If that's the last add or subtraction, we'll make a motion to amend the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Did we get a second on that?
Yeah, Joe.
Is that Joe?
Laporte.
Okay. Trustee Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Czerwinski? Yes. Betterman?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
That motion carries. Make a motion to approve the amended consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Daney, seconded by Trustee Czerwinski. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Laporte?
Yes.
Czerwinski?
Yes.
Betterman?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes. That motion carries. All right, that takes us to our treasurer's report. We have none. We already covered our president's report with the proclamation, so it takes us to question and answers tonight. If any of the board members or trustees?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do have a couple things. You know, I always like to recognize the birthdays and anniversaries of our staff members, and let me start with the anniversaries. Tyler Isham, Assistant Public Works Director, he has 10 years of service. Congratulations. Then we have Dan Digit, our Planning and Development Service Director, and or Planning Development. Dan has 11 years. Christy. That is amazing. I can't believe what I looked at this. 23 years? 23. Yeah. I hired you out of grade school, huh? No, I was shocked when I saw that. I didn't realize you'd been here 23 years. And then Evan Blum, we have our Bartlett Hills event coordinator. And Sam, where's Sam? Sam's not here. Sam Hughes has 8 years of service with the village. So congratulations, guys, on your anniversaries. Now, just a couple of birthdays I'd like to mention. We have Matt Coulter. He's our new finance director. Your birthday's on the 19th of June. Congratulations. And then Matt Gurmick, our Bartlett Hills grounds superintendent. His birthday's on the 26th. So congratulations, guys, on your birthdays. We can have a round of applause. Mr. President, that's all I have.
All right. Anybody else like to questions or answers for staff?
I've had a number of inquiries, and Tyler, you can help us. The across from the plaza, yeah, that's been going on for some time. Can you give us a little rundown of what's happening there?
Yeah, so that is the last portion of the Devon Forest Main and Lift Station project. There were a lot of unknown utilities in the ground in that area, so it was a little bit more slow going. But the good news is it is wrapping up in the next couple weeks, so that part should be done and over with shortly.
Yeah, I've had a number of calls, especially, if I'm at the golf course, they'll ask what's going on over there, so thanks a lot. That's been a nightmare, I understand.
Yeah, there were a bit more surprises in the ground than what we thought. I guess that's kind of what happens when it's on a county line, and that area's kind of changed hands many times.
Thank you. all I have.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got a couple things. One is, where do we stand with the underpass under Route 59?
So for the underpass right now, we're still going through design. We just had another grant check-in with Cook County because they're funding for the design. So it's still going smoothly. It's in the review for bridges and structural with IDOT. And so they said that could be probably completed with review by next March, which isn't ideal, but for them that's speeding up. So it's all perspective.
Yeah. Maybe we can get Seth Lewis to give us a hand with that to speed things up.
Great.
My other thing is, just listening to all the residents, got me thinking, can we make a text amendment to make vape shops and smoke shops a special use?
Yes. There's some communities that have done that. It is legal. We'd have to go through that public hearing process and establish how that would be, if there's going to be any specific regulations or if it's just going to be a special use and in what districts.
Okay. Can we add that to a committee agenda?
Would that include the gas stations as well?
I mean, I think gas stations are a special use in general anyway, so they have to go through the process. So it's just adding to that. But yeah, I mean, every time you turn the corner, a smoke and vape shop's popping up, and I believe it's problematic. So I'd like to make it a special use.
Staff, can you look into?
We can look into that.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. I did have a couple questions here. How long have we looked into the sidewalks for that neighborhood of the residents that are here tonight?
So, honestly, I haven't heard too much about it since I've been here for the 10 years. I do know right now, because they don't have any storm sewer or anything, it's not as simple as it sounds as just putting in a patch of concrete. There'd be a lot more engineering. It'd be a pretty costly project. I'm not sure about the history of why there aren't sidewalks, but I do know there is some history behind that.
I'd like to look into putting a bike lane in on one of the sides of the street or something of that nature, and maybe widening slightly to accommodate that, because I drive down that street quite often and the kids are up in the middle of the street, and I know it's unsafe when through traffic does go through there. So I do want to look into that. And have we looked at signage on Norwood that would have no through traffic, residential traffic only at the entrance there? Yeah. It's already there? Okay.
Yeah, we have looked at that, Mayor. It's more of a deterrent because those are not enforceable signs because it's a public roadway. So I think over time it loses the effect that we aim for when putting those types of signs up. Because it's a public roadway, those are not enforceable.
Okay. Can you also, while I have you have the microphone, can you give us some information in regards to the truck traffic mitigation throughout the village that you've been working on and that we?
Yes, absolutely. So we have made some progress with improved and increased signage, primarily designed to deter commercial truck traffic from entering downtown Bartlett. So with the assistance of Public Works, we installed 3 new signs on North Avenue between Lake Street and Prospect. We moved the signs that existed previously that were on towards Prospect further to the east. So now we have 2 signs on North at the old railroad tracks that restrict truck traffic on both sides of the roadway for 12,000 pounds or more. And then one of the more significant improvements is a sign prior to Falcon Court that prohibits traffic west of Falcon Court over 12,000 pounds. And that gives truck drivers the opportunity to turn around before they enter downtown Bartlett and they're already in the intersection of North and Western or too far before they can turn around. And then we also have the sign at Lake and North. That should prevent those trucks from turning westbound onto North Avenue to begin with. Additionally, and this is after an assessment working with Public Works to determine where new signage would probably give us the best impact to supplement the current signs that we have. Cook County on West Bartlett Road is going to be installing a sign that prohibits eastbound traffic on West Bartlett Road, preventing them or deterring them from crossing over 59, continuing east on West Bartlett Road. So that sign is going to prohibit truck traffic in the area of Cheviot and West Bartlett Road. And with that, that should give ample time for lane change so that they can either go south or north on Route 59.
And is that, those are all enforceable, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and since they are up currently?
So the only one that is not up yet is the Cook County sign, and we were given an estimated timeline of about 6 weeks, approximately a week ago.
Have we had citations since they've been up?
We have continued to enforce out there and are continuing to issue citations.
Okay. Thank you for the follow-up on that.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
We have everything in process of being resolved with J.C.'s for their parking, the tables in the front of the restaurant.
You're waiting for them to submit the necessary paperwork, but I've been in contact with them. I actually went out and met with them for the second time yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If you don't have any other questions, we'll go on to standing committee reports. Building and Zoning Chairman Hopkins.
Thank you, President Gunstein. We have 3 items on our agenda. One was covered under the consent agenda. First item up is A2, 2018-05, the TLE Devon and Prospect Project. The petitioner is requesting to subdivide the 3.85 acres located at the southwest corner of Devon and Prospect Avenues to construct the Learning Experience, early learning education and daycare facility on Lot 1, and either a standalone restaurant or 2 small retail buildings on Lot 2. Lot 3 contains stormwater detention for the entire development and will be built at the same time as TLE. The application includes the following requests: preliminary and final plat of subdivision, PUD, a preliminary and final site, PUD plan for Phase 1, a preliminary site and PUD plan for Phase 2, a special use permit for a planned unit development, a restaurant serving liquor, and a drive-through. The Planning and Zoning Commission held the public hearing at their May 1st, 2025 meeting and heard comments and concerns raised by the surrounding property owners. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the petitioner's request. The Committee of the Whole reviewed the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations at their May 20th, 25 meeting and forwarded the petition to the Village Board for a final vote. I move to approve Ordinance 2025-54, an ordinance approving the preliminary and final planned unit development, a preliminary and final plat of subdivision, and a special use permit and site plan for the Devon and Prospect subdivision.
Second that.
Any questions, concerns, feedback?
I've got a few questions. Scott, does Groot actually pick up at 4 a.m.? And if they do, can that be modified so it doesn't wake the residents up?
They're certainly not supposed to, and of course, we'll absolutely notify them.
Okay. And then, Christie, a couple of things for you. What percentage of the property is the petitioner landscaping and what is actually required by the village? And then do you have the slide that shows what types of buildings, alternative buildings, could be developed on that property?
I do.
Yep.
Give me a moment.
Oh, God damn it.
And while you're looking for that, I've one question for the petitioner. Can the petitioner provide a landscape plan that would be an improvement to shelter the residents' view of the mall? So instead of the 3-foot trees, could you plant taller trees to block the...
You talking behind Lido?
For Devon and Prospect.
But behind Lido?
Yeah.
Is that the street you're speaking about?
Yeah.
I'm talking the property line, the fence line of the petition. Yeah, Lido. Yeah, that would be Lido. Yep. I'm sorry.
Again, we've pretty much done everything we've been asked and gone above and beyond, I think, what the ordinance requires. I'm willing to consider some alternatives and work with staff and my landscape architect, put our heads together and see if we can come up with something more creative. If you think that's, necessary, we can do that. I'm willing to do that.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
So as far as the type of screening that's required, there's three options. One is to have a 6-foot tall brick wall, which is excessive, and that's not normally what any developer chooses. The second one is a 12-foot buffer area, and that's typically the standard that you see, and then there's pretty much a solid fence along the property line. They're required to have some shrubs and one tree every 60 feet. The alternative C is a minimum 25-foot wide buffer area. It's supposed to have a berm 3 feet in height, and then there's supposed to be the berm shall be planted with shrubs up to 75% the perimeter length, again, because there isn't a fence or there isn't a wall. However, the application before us today, the current buffer area is 40 feet wide.
Oh, wow.
So that's why the berm was going to cause some drainage problems with the engineering. We didn't want to cause a drainage problem. We felt due to the increased buffer size that this was appropriate. Some of the neighbors do have existing 6-foot tall fences on their property line. We try not to have 6-foot fences parallel to each other. And at other points of the property, like where the daycare is, it's more like 145 feet from the property line to the daycare building itself, because the detention's at the southwest corner of the site.
Okay. And then, so at one point, what percentage of the property is the petitioner landscaping, and what is required by the village? Was it 44% was going to be
So the minimum percentage of open space required in a commercial zone is 20%. 44% of the site is open space.
Okay. And then are you able to find the slide that shows what types of alternative buildings could be built on that property?
This was from last meeting. Jump ahead too.
So I think we should also mention the daycare is not what we're looking at today. The daycare is approved, and they can get a permit to build the daycare as it's submitted.
A daycare is a permitted use. So if they came in today just for a daycare, they could get a building permit. It would not need to go through the village.
The developer can build this daycare currently as it's drawn with no deviations to the drawing.
And they could build the strip malls without the drive-through and without the liquor license, without our approval. That's
correct.
Just based on zoning. I was just curious to see what other types of...
So this was a previously approved site plan for this property where the building itself is in the southwest corner. There's the minimum 20-foot buffer before the drive aisle. So, another similar size site would be the Goodwill that's on Route 59 off of Quincy Bridge Road. And then the shopping center at the other corner of Devon and Prospect is something that could go through as well, something similar to that. That has a gas pipeline that runs through, north-south on the east side of the property. That's why there's the open space there.
Didn't you have a slide at one point that showed like an apartment building could go there or townhomes could go there? Or?
It didn't, no. It's not zoned for residential. Okay. It would be zoned for commercial. There could be residential uses on a second story.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, so it could be commercial on the first floor and residential.
Yes, you could have, the zoning allows for 2-story buildings with residential on the second floor.
So more garbage cans, more noise.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely like what we're looking at now versus what you just showed us. I do appreciate all the residents speaking up now for what they think will either make it better. I don't understand some people are against it. I did receive an email about disability access, making sure that someone can get into.
So the petitioner has added a connection for the daycare that would connect to the bike path so that there would be I can't speak today, so that it would continue to the daycare center. Phase 2 will have to come before the village board again, and it's a condition that they put in a connection to the sidewalk and bike path at that point. So there is another bite at the final PUD plan for phase 2.
Okay.
At that point, the landscape plan also gets re-reviewed. So if something else needs to come up, if there's some adjustments that need to be made, we can do it at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I do have one thing for the petitioner. I think it is good neighborly business to accommodate and hear the concerns with the trees, and maybe 3 foot is a little light, even though it is our minimum. It is residential behind there, and I think we should accommodate them by at least looking at that and putting some more mature trees in, 6-8 foot minimum to start with, so it's not taking 4 to 5 years to block the view.
So the 3 foot minimum is for shrubs.
Okay.
Evergreen trees are required to be a minimum of 6 foot tall.
Okay.
At the time of installation, the deciduous trees are required to be 2.5 inches in caliber.
Okay. I would like to see more screening on the back of that. And I know you have to come back before us again, you know, depending on the use that you're putting in here, but I think it's good business to you know, to look into that.
Although having said that, the evergreens, if they're already 6 foot, that's as high as the fence. Those things grow gigantic.
I understand. I'm saying that I want to make sure that the screening is appropriate when this does get built. And it might never get built. I know you've been marketing this site for 25 years. This was supposed to be the U46 bus depot at one point. So I know this property has been sitting for quite a while. But I would like you to work with staff, if this does get approved, to accommodate that. All right. Any other questions or feedback on this? Take a vote. All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Czerwinski?
Yes.
Batterman?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
That motion carries.
Now we have our third item, which is 2025-4, the Star Buds Dispensary. The petitioner is requesting a special use permit to allow an adult use dispensary at 801 South Route 59 in the Brewster Creek Shopping Center. The petitioner is also proposing to open a bakery selling hemp-infused products at 803 South Route 59. This use is permitted by right and does not involve a cannabis-infused products. The Planning and Zoning Commission held the public hearing at their May 1st, 2025 meeting and heard comments and concerns raised by the surrounding property owners and received a petition objecting to the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission's motion to recommend approval of the petitioner's request failed to pass with a 3-5 vote. The Committee of the Whole reviewed the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendations at their May 2025 meeting and forwarded the petition to the Village Board for a final vote. The petitioner has agreed to 6 additional conditions outlined in staff's report and incorporated into the draft ordinance. A special use permit, which fails to receive a positive recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission, requires a vote of at least 4 trustees in favor of the application. I motion to approve Ordinance 2025-55, an ordinance approving a special use permit for a cannabis dispensary at 801 and 803 South Illinois Route 59.
Second that. Second
by Trustee Daney. Any questions? I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that the petitioner is here tonight to answer any questions that you may have. I want to chime in on one little thing here, and I've heard it a couple times. I think it's worth noting that marijuana is used by more than just kids, and I'm not saying one thing or another to this. It is used by a lot of Vietnam veterans, military veterans. So I would like to just let everybody know, when you make your decision tonight, base it off the facts that you have, that it's not necessarily something that is going to bring Snoop Dogg and Cheech and Chong into the area. And I'm using that as a joke, but there are a lot of people that do count on marijuana, and I'm just letting you know that it is something that is the reality of today. Whether it's good for Bartlett or good for this area, that's what we can discuss. So.
I would like to say that I appreciate everyone that got up and spoke, whether for or against it. It's important to always hear from our residents. 20 years ago, I probably had the same negative sentiments. I did have the same negative sentiments to marijuana, THC. My thoughts have changed over the years. Safety is always the number one concern. We know that. I don't believe any of us would ever put profit over safety. However, we did look at safety. We have spent a lot of time, the village has pulled reports from several, over 10 police departments that have dispensaries, some even close to daycares. They had no reports or minor complaints related to customer management disputes that are typical of any retail location. I like hearing people bring up traffic, any kind of safety issue. Again, we want to bring that up. And what we heard tonight, there could be any business that comes in that brings more traffic to this location, so that we will have to continue monitoring the safety of that area, of any business that comes in. So therefore, because I've seen that we have shown that there's not the safety issue that we're looking at here, we do look at the financials. We have to. It is our role as board members it's our responsibility to look at financials to make sure we can either minimize taxes or bring new revenue into the community. And it's a legal business. Finally, I want to speak to the values. I value that we are not only a family-friendly community. We support the needs and wants of everyone. I've met people that have used THC for medical reasons. My mother-in-law dying of lung cancer, friends with other diseases. We heard someone tonight that uses it for medical reasons. I've also met people that have used it for fun. The clientele of dispensaries has been portrayed by some as burnouts, yahoos, or somehow displayed lesser values than those who oppose it. However, these customers are also our neighbors, our teachers, our professionals, our homeowners and taxpayers, and patients in town battling any number of diseases. The arguments about the customers and fears likely thereof represent the antiquated sentiments of the substance itself. So I have seen that the data has shown that the dispensaries to be safe and that the financials can support the future of our community, which is also good for our families and our children. So I will be voting yes on the special use.
Anybody else?
We had received quite a bit of information from the village staff regarding dispensaries in the surrounding area. And I don't remember specifically the number of responses we had gotten, but it was somewhere in the area of, I believe, 10 other communities that the police department had reached out to. And other than just a minor disagreement occurring that didn't prompt any type of police action at all, that's the only thing that they had found. And the lion's share of the other dispensaries, there was no incidents reported whatsoever. They have security immediately when you walk in the door. It's monitored, and the village was good enough to, or the police department, they obtained this information and passed it along to us. So that being said, I'm going to vote in favor of it also. I think it'll add to our village the revenue that we can generate. And I know that, there are some concerns on whether or not there'd be an incident, but, that's all speculation. And the point remains is that could happen anywhere. So if somebody says that, we could have a lawsuit or whatever the case may be, it's a shot, it could happen, okay? But it could happen anywhere. So that's my feelings on it.
That was very well said. Thank you, guys. I agree. I think this is something we need in the village. There are surrounding communities that have been doing this for years. The stigma has left, and they are reaping the benefits where Bartlett is losing out. So I've had personal experiences with folks. My mom, for one, died of colon cancer, and she had that stigma. And in the last 4 years of her life, had she had some medicine like this, I think she probably could have battled through it and maybe lived a little longer. But she just gave up because of the pain and the nauseousness and just the bad experience there. She couldn't handle it anymore. So for those reasons, I agree too. I am voting yes for this.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns? Any questions for the applicant? Well, that said, clerk,
Call the roll.
call the roll.
Trustee Batterman?
Yes.
Daney?
Yes.
Gansey?
Yes.
Hopkins?
No.
Laporte?
No.
Czerwinski?
No.
That measure fails. Okay.
One last thing before. If a dispensary wanted to come into an area that is designated, like in Brewster Creek Industrial Park, do they need a special use, or can you approve that administratively?
We could process a text amendment to make it a permitted use by right in a certain district if the board wanted to do so.
All right, that takes us to community economic development. Trustee Gansey.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have nothing to report tonight.
All right, Finance Committee, Chairman Laporte.
Thank you, Mr. President. Both items were covered under consent.
Thank you, Chairman Laporte. License and Ordinance Committee, Chairman Bannerman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one item on the agenda. It is for the Liquor Commissioner appointment. I would like to postpone that until our next meeting on June 17th. And in the meantime, any liquor license violations will be handled by Bob Krupp. Excuse me.
Okay. We don't have to vote on that, right?
If we're okay, just
push that to the 17th.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you, Trustee Batterman. Police Health Committee, Chairman Swansky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item E1 was covered under consent.
Thank you, Chairman Swansky. Public Works and Golf Committee, Chairman Daney.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 3 items on the agenda, and I'd like to review all those, even though they're under consent.
No, we're done.
Oh, we're done, okay.
You're done.
It was covered.
Thank you, Chairman Daney. Okay, any new business?
No.
All right. Questions or answers for the President or Trustees? All right.
All good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, make a motion. Second, and second it.
Motion made by Trustee Daney, second by Trustee Swansky. We are. Oh, roll call. I'm sorry, roll call.
Oh, yeah. All in
Trustee Batterman?
favor?
Yes.
Aye. What we gotta do?
All in favor.
Well, okay.
My bad.
I don't know, can we just do that?
We have.
do all in favor.
Do you have a sheet for the committee meeting?
Need a roll call for catalog.
Okay.
We're done. Okay.
I was looking at the wrong one.